Welcome back to Battlefield 2042. In this video I want to talk to you about an article I found from VG247. And just quickly before we do get into it, if you are not currently subbed to the channel, make sure you do turn notifications on. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like, all support is greatly appreciated. And if you want to support me further as a creator, then check out the links in the description. And let's jump into it. So VG247 put out an article. Battlefield 2042 faces a fight for survival as players and content creators go AWOL. Players and content creators alike are dropping Battlefield 2042 after the most recent news. That news being the Season 1 has been delayed for around 6 months. Not only that, but the scoreboard got delayed too for them to put out a hot fix that fixed absolutely nothing. So Battlefield 2042 may be taking the series into an unprecedentedly dark period, as many fear the game will be forgotten by the time DICE is done fixing it. Last week was particularly stressful for Battlefield fans and developer DICE. The studio announced delaying the game's first season by several months. What many believed would arrive in March is now landing sometime around June, I believe closer to July, but we'll see what happens. The developer will instead use this break to address long-standing issues and potentially change some of the most controversial design decisions made during the development of Battlefield 2042. Meanwhile, publisher EA all but pretended the game doesn't exist at all in its financial reports and releases for Q3. When asked about Battlefield 2042's performance and its view of launch, EA said it was a disappointment, admitting that it has run into several problems. EA, however, was adamant DICE will get things back on the right track, because the developer has fixed similar messes in the past. The unavoidable fact is that all of this means Battlefield 2042 will not be getting any new content for months. In the ever-relevant race for engagement, a number of Battlefield content creators have already publicly announced they are moving on from the game. And I disagree with moving on from the game. And I only say that because if you're in a sticky situation, don't run away from it. You stand there and you fight for what you believe in. If you want Battlefield 2042 to improve, instead of just always trying to post positive, engaging content, stand up for what is right and tell EA and DICE that they have fucked up. I believe more creators on the platform need to do it. Instead of seeing, oh, this game's got a load of problems, I'm going to move away and just forget about it and go play something else. Instead of doing that, go, this game has problems, I'm going to point them out because they need fixing. Carrying on with the article, the latest casualty of this lack of interest is Stoddy, if that's how you pronounce his name, one of several YouTubers who built their career on Battlefield coverage, before moving on to other popular shooters like Warzone. Stoddy put out a video over the weekend announcing that while they'll be covering Battlefield 2042 news, they won't be playing it on their channel until new content arrives. You often see that, but then they typically start going back to the game a week or two later. They kind of they try and let the storm blow over, and then they try making a little return. That's what these content creators always do. Before that, Westy, another Battlefield creator, also recently told his followers he'd be moving away from 2042, explaining that they're simply not having fun playing it at this time. Both videos were fairly mild in their criticism, but other creators had a much sharper tone when they abandoned the game. AKA Art, if that's how you pronounce that channel name, for example, who almost exclusively plays Battlefield games, pretty much quit after Battlefield 2042's failure to deliver. Meanwhile, other Battlefield content creators, such as The Broken Machine, have quietly moved away from the game, either going back to past Battlefield titles or focusing on other popular shooters. Level Cap Gaming and Jack Frags are the only two major creators who regularly post Battlefield 2042 content, though even in the latter's case it's not as frequent. It's not hard to see why this is happening. 2042 continues to lose players on all platforms. I mean, the 24-hour peak for me at the moment, from what I can see, is 4,000 players. And that was less than half of what is currently playing Battlefield 1, and Battlefield 5 is just absolutely thriving. But this lack of player interest is reflected in the lack of views on YouTube and Twitch, which is a major reason why all those creators are stepping away. There is simply no money in it, and that is a load of bullshit. If they carried on playing the game, they would still get their views. Not as many as they would typically, but if they pointed out all the problems and stuck with the community, they would get so much more. And I know that for a fact because I'm one of those creators. I don't simp for the games, I don't defend them, I don't do white knighting or brown nosing. I stand up to these companies and say what you have done is unacceptable, you're taking the piss out of the community and you need to be held accountable. And typically, before the whole catastrophe of Battlefield 2042, I would get, I don't know, say between 500 views and maybe 2,000. And now I'm typically looking at almost every single Battlefield 2042 video, picking up 5-figure view counts. I would say the minimum amount of views I would get on a 2042 video is about 4 or 5k. And that's because I'm in it with the community, how every content creator should be. Because yeah, these companies are going to pay you big dollar. You're going to get huge sponsors. But at the end of the day, sticking with companies that release broken games, you're biting the hand that fed you. You're going against the community, the ones that will watch you every single day, the ones that will support you, pretty much no matter what you do. You're screwing them over by sticking with the companies that rob their money. That is just bullshit in itself. It works the same with game companies. Content creators are where they are because of people watching their videos. Game companies make as much money as they do because of the people that play their games. Yet these people that show support to YouTubers and Twitch streamers, these people that provide money for these gaming companies, get shafted every single fucking day. So content creators, whether you're YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, whatever you're playing your games on, and broadcasting it for the internet, stick with your community. The ones that watch you, the ones that are loyal, the ones that support you. Don't stick with these companies because there's a chance you could make a 5-figure deal or a 6-figure deal within the next year. Big chances it's not going to happen. Start being honest with the games you're playing. There's no harm in moaning about a game and kicking off because it's broken, yet enjoying it at the same time. You're entitled to enjoy whatever you want to enjoy, but at the same time, if you're honest, it's going to have a much better approach. Not only are you showing your community that you support them, but you're also standing up and holding these companies accountable that need to be held accountable because they're multi-billion-dollar corporations that are only there for the profits. But carrying on with this, and like the main part of that goes to Jack Frags and Level Cap Gaming, they rarely ever say a bad word. And I don't mean bad as in moaning and saying, oh, everyone behind DICE is a bunch of pricks. I mean, like when I say it, I mean they barely ever criticize the game. They'll do it once in a blue moon, but they'll do it in such a minor way that you'll barely notice the criticism, and it always has to be constructive. You're allowed to criticize without it being constructive. You shouldn't need to be constructive. You shouldn't have to sit there and say, oh, you delayed the scoreboard, maybe you can do it like this, make it easier to implement into the game. I think it should go this way. You shouldn't have to do that because these companies should have a vision for their game and know exactly what they need to do. You're allowed to criticize without being constructive. It's nice to have some construction and criticism every now and then, but fuck having it constructive all the time because 99% of the time it doesn't get listened to anyway. But carrying on with the article, in a couple of videos recently I've done a lot of rambling, but it's something I enjoy, so if you don't like it, you don't have to watch the video. You're not going to lose anything by sitting there watching a video. You might lose a bit of time out of your day or whatever, but at the end of the day, no one's forced you to watch it. You've decided to click on it yourself. But carrying on, Battlefield 4 is often the closest point of comparison for a game with an incredibly rough launch that turned things around. But as many continue to point out, Battlefield 4's problems were mostly instability and bugs, not in its fundamental design. Indeed, by the time Battlefield 2042 gets its first piece of new content, Battlefield 4 had already received several new expansions. I believe by the time the Season 1 launches, I believe Battlefield 4 would have had 4 expansion packs out. But this makes any potential turnaround for 2042 even more unlikely. In the meantime, Battlefield fans have gone back to past games to get their fix. Battlefield 5 has seen the biggest boost in players, followed by Battlefield 1. The two games actually far outrank 2042 on Steam's list of most played games. But that's where I see another issue. And people won't see it at the time, they're just sitting there trying to play a Battlefield game, and I totally get that, I totally understand it, and I appreciate it. The Battlefield franchise was a very good franchise. But going back to previous titles shows EA that they are still winning in the battle. And the reason I say that is because you buy Battlefield 2042, you sink $120 into the Ultimate Edition, you realise how broken the game is, you don't get a refund because you've played too long or whatever the company wants to say their policy is, but you get denied your refund, you go to Battlefield 5, you've wasted $120, that's sitting in the pocket of the CEO and the higher-ups and stuff, and they see the figures for how many people are playing Battlefield 5, 1, 4, and even still playing 2042, and they go, boom, we've got them right where we want them, right in our pocket. They'll continue playing Battlefield games, these creators will go back and play Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 1, and they'll bring extra numbers in, which is going to push more sales for us, and then when 2042 does actually get any content, they'll be sat there on the previous titles waiting, then they'll jump back onto 2042 when it does release, they'll purchase into it, and boom, we're the winners, fuck the community, we're making profit. That's their exact thought process. Going back to previous titles does nothing for the current title. It was the same with the Division 2. Everyone was like, oh, the Division 2's dead, go back to the Division 1. And look at what happened with that. A lot of players went back, started playing survival and stuff. Fuck all happened for Div 2. They've even delayed their stuff further and they're rerunning seasons time and time again. So whilst it's nice to have the Battlefield fix by playing the older titles, and it's nice to try and say, look EA, fuck your new game, we're going back to your old ones. At the same time, EA are like, we've got them. We've got them wrapped around our little finger. We've got them wrapped around our thumb, whatever way you want to use the expression. They have got you right where they want you, still within the Battlefield franchise, so that when they do drop something, you're there ready and waiting to purchase into it. But yeah, that is the end of the article. Again, what seems to be quite long videos from me with a lot of rambling in the middle of them. But I feel this info is important to pass on, and it's always nice to point out the issues and stuff within games that I play. As I said, I enjoy playing these games, but they're still broken, they still need fixing, and it's not acceptable. And what we're going to do is leave the video there. Let me know your thoughts and stuff in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed it.